Hello. All right. It's finally time. It is Exilecon, and we are going to get all the information on the next Challenge League, so 3.22, but also the big expose on Path of Exile 2, and probably other surprises like Path of Exile Mobile. I'm certain there's going to be an update on Path of Exile Mobile. And God, who knows? It could be anything. They could drop a beta. There could be other spin-offs they're doing, or it's coming to other platforms like Path of Exile on Switch. Anything could happen. And this is the time when it's going to happen. And I am just so excited. This is basically like Christmas for those of us playing Path of Exile. And I can't wait. I still remember the crazy huge announcements when they back when they announced that Act 5 wasn't going to just be Act 5. It was going to be Acts 5 through 10. And then again, the initial reveal of Path of Exile 2. And the fact that they're doing Exilecon again tells me that they're coming loaded with some big, heavy-hitting announcements. And I'm just really excited to see what the future of this game is going to be like. So those of you stopping by, watching this in the VOD, maybe there's like a highlights reel or something. Thank you for coming to stop by. And let's just have a fun time. Now, currently, there's this pre-show going on here. And I have it muted so I can chat and do this intro, but they're just chatting about the game, so I'm just going to unmute it here. Let me know if the audio isn't quite right. I think we have some good levels here. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they have to show us.
Yeah, really, they weren't giving us anything.
That's good. More so than last time, even. Also, I've got to remind you folks, if you're watching live on Twitch, don't forget to connect your Twitch and Path of Exile account. So
yes, I mean, you're watching on YouTube right now, but you should have the stream up on Twitch or something too, like I currently do, just so you can get your... Wait, in fact, I don't actually have it up on Uh-oh.
Just about to go over to the live stage and
No, it's fine. I want my free stuff, but Path of Exile. I can do this.
Rise and Noogie will sprint back over here just after the keynote is finished. There is not much time left, so I'll see you fine folks over there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh man. I mean, hopefully there's no Einhard forced to vamp this time from people who watched the previous Exilecon stream. Oh, that poor voice actor. They had technical difficulties and he was just vamping and vamping and vamping, the poor guy. Oh man, look at all those people in New Zealand. Any last second predictions? I think I wouldn't be surprised to see PoE Mobile out now. Like, just surprise drop PoE Mobile. I think they might do it. I really think that, like, that's the sort of thing where if you're going to launch it, you want to ride all that PoE 2 hype and just have an actionable thing people can do, like, right now, go. I think that's possible, but then again, we do have a league starting in, like, what, 2 weeks? 2.5 weeks, so maybe that's not realistic. That's my bold prediction with 30 seconds left. Oh man, 35. Surely they can't have anything too surprising though, like they did when they first announced Path of Exile 2, where they Acts 6 through 10. Because they have confirmed 3.22 is not PoE 2. They're not going to surprise drop PoE 2. For anyone who might be thinking that that's about to happen, they've already confirmed that it's not happening. To sort of keep our wild theories in check. Oh, here we go. Oh, Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games? No, that's Crip.
And welcome to Exilecon!
Damn, he looks so much older than when I last saw him.
For joining us here in New Zealand. It's quite a journey. Thank you guys for joining us online. It's going to be a fantastic show. You guys want to learn about what's coming up in Path of Exile?
Yeah. Yeah, Crip.
You do? Yeah, me too. Yeah. Well, before we get to the people that are best to deliver that information, before we get into Path of Exile's wonderful future, let's take a moment to go over all the wonderful things we have already experienced in Path of Exile. Let's take a moment to check out Path of Exile.
What is that orb on the t-shirt? It looks like a divine orb like mashup or something. It doesn't quite look like a chaos orb, does it? Maybe it's like a stylized chaos orb. New divine orb art? I didn't love new divine orb art. The art for divine orb for like the rarest, for it to be the most valuable currency in the game currently is kind of super lame, in my opinion. God, I remember the days before asynchronous play, when the game would just lag out and you'd randomly die. I remember these masters and having to do the daily rotas. Oh my god, it was miserable. You new players are so lucky. You don't know. And then loot filters. This one they added loot filters. Thank God. You don't want to know what PoE was like before loot filters. Oh goodness. The original Atlas with the Shaper and the Elder and like the, I remember the influence, and Legacy League was both great and a train wreck. Yeah, so this is when they got the influences and you could start fighting over the Atlas. Oh, I skipped Bestiary. It seemed like it was a train wreck. Oh, Incursion. Oh my god. They skipped over Incursion so fast. I spent so long playing Incursion. It was like the league where I really, really, really got into Path of Exile endgame stuff. Oh, Synthesis. Whew. This was my league where I got my first Headhunter. Oh, incredible. Synthesis was so janky, but I got so rich because I figured out how all the synthesis stuff worked. Like, if you knew what you were doing, oh my god, you were just raking it in. God, original harvest. Original strength harvest, huh? Oh, I miss Ultimatum so bad. When are they bringing back Ultimatum? Oh my god, it was so cool to just be doing an Ultimatum and then all of a sudden just get thrown into that boss fight and be competing for something huge like multiple exalts or something really valuable. And that fight was so good. It was just, everything was so telegraphed, but like it could like one-shot you if you messed it up. It was great. I really want Ultimatum back. I don't want Kalandra back. That can stay gone. I miss the Sanctum. I hope they're bringing Sanctum back next league, please. God, I would love that. Oh, are they gonna jump right into 3.22? Oh, right, no, this is just all past trailers. So I have the PoE 2 trailers, and we have big new Hillock. Yeah, I mean, it's looking... I mean, visually, this is stunning. And all this skill mobility stuff they showed off. Oof. Really interested to see how all this new skill and mobility stuff, how it actually works mechanically in PoE 2. Oh, is this time? Yeah, hell yeah. There it is, Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. He's gonna say the line. What's he having the Searing Exarch? Oh, it's like their metagame or whatever.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Hey, you did it.
Welcome to Exilecon 2023. It feels like just yesterday that I was here on stage at Exilecon 2019 announcing Path of Exile 2.
Does.
Since then, we have worked tirelessly on the content we're going to show you this weekend. To everyone here in person, thank you so much for coming out to join us. It honestly feels so good to know that people love Path of Exile so much that they fly across the world to come and celebrate it with us in person here. I really hope you have a great trip and make the most of your time in New Zealand. Our last Exilecon was a magical experience, and we've tried to go above and beyond in every way this time. If you're tuning in online to watch the live stream, thanks for joining us also. I wish you could all be with us here, but to ensure you have the full Exilecon experience, we have made sure to include every talk and session as part of the 2-day live stream this weekend.
God, this can be so crazy.
Twitch drops are enabled for the live stream, but if you're here in the audience, you'll automatically get them when you redeem the microtransaction code in your swag bag, so no need to stream it from your phone. You'll also
I'm glad they thought of that.
the only Exilecon 2023 hideout. We have so much to share with you this weekend. And
What did they just say about a hideout? What?
I'd like to introduce Jonathan Rogers and
Is that something only the people in person there get?
Path of Exile 2.
Here we go. Oh man.
Hey guys. While Chris has been running Path of Exile 1, Mark and I and over 100 other developers have been hard at work on PoE 2. And honestly, the project has become much bigger than we expected when we announced it in 2019.
Really?
It's been almost 4 years since then, and so it's about time we showed you what we've been working on. Oh, hang on.
Is it about time?
Sorry, I forgot. Okay. When we announced Path of Exile 2 at Exilecon 2019, we told you guys that we were releasing it as an expansion to PoE 1 and that both campaigns would be playable in the same game client with a shared endgame.
Yeah.
The PoE 2's scope has continued to grow and grow, and it's far more than just an expansion with a new campaign. It has entirely new monsters, skills, mechanics, classes, everything you'd expect from the next generation of action RPGs. Not to mention revamps of most of the PoE 1 League content. This thing is just freaking huge. There was a point when we realized that our plan to replace PoE 1 with PoE 2 would essentially be getting rid of a game that people love for no real reason. So we made a decision. Path of Exile 1 and 2 will be separate with their own mechanics, balance, endgames, and leagues. But it's still a shared platform. Your microtransactions are available across both games. Everything you have ever purchased or will ever purchase in the future will be usable in both games unless it's hyper-specific to the content of one of them. You can't transform into a bear in PoE 1, so a reskin of your bear form isn't going to work. But you absolutely can equip the awesome armor set that you got and use all your stash tabs.
I don't know how to feel about this.
I'd love to show you a live demo of some of the stuff we've been working on. PoE 2 has come a long way. Mark here is going to man the PC. Hopefully he doesn't die. It is a live gameplay demo.
Maybe this is because they really are slowing things down a lot in PoE 2 and they're afraid people will hate it and they want them to still have... Huh. This is interesting. I mean, it's a huge revelation. Oh god, making league guides can be so much difficult as we have two different versions.
After Oriath was destroyed, I traveled, searching for answers. Everywhere I went, the same divine devastation. It must end. I will end it. And no exile will stop me.
What the heck? I think this is a boss? Okay. Look at that UI. Oh, Flash still exists. Don't like that. mean, it looks gorgeous. But really, I wonder what endgame looks like, and you can expect this sort of speed outside of the campaign. Wow, it's a lot of tile sets. That included all new ones? 100 new ones? No, because they included the old ascendancies.
This world will be reborn, no matter the cost.
Hmm. I mean, the change to not be an expansion to be a separate game is concerning because it implies that they are going to slow things down in the way that players were worried they would.
Your turn now. Welcome to Path of Exile 2. We'd like to start off by showing you some of the gameplay of Act 3, one of the 6 acts in PoE 2's campaign. We're starting
6 acts, okay.
Act 3 is set in the ruins of the Vaal civilization, which fell thousands of years ago. Jungle has taken over their former once great cities, and we'll be exploring it using one of the 6 new character classes called the Monk. In PoE 1, we had 1 character class for each of the combinations of strength, dexterity, and intelligence. When looking at the design of PoE 2, though, we realized that many of the new skills that we were trying to design just didn't really fit thematically with the existing classes that we have. Being a spellcaster with a bear form makes sense for Strength Int, but it just doesn't really sound like something a Templar would do. We realized that since we had new mechanics for every attribute combination, it actually made sense to design a new character class to explore the new themes. In PoE 2, every attribute combination has 2 classes associated with it. Strength Int has the Templar or the Druid. On Dexterity, you have the Ranger or the more spear-focused Huntress. And on Dex Int, you have the Shadow and the Monk, which Mark is playing here.
Oh my god.
Own 3 ascendancies that let you further specialize the class in a way that only that class has access to, but they both start at the same location on the passive tree. The quest rewards you are offered on the 2 variants are tailored to the class, but of course, this is PoE. You can still mix and match anything to your heart's content.
So that's just how they're doing PoE 1 versus PoE 2 ascendancies? Instead, they're just naming the base class something different.
Looks like we've come across the boss for this area. In PoE 2, every area of the campaign contains a boss of at least this difficulty. That's over 100 bosses to fight as you make your way through the campaign, and they all have unique mechanics.
I mean, what's the reward for spending all this time, though, is the thing.
As you've been watching from Mark fighting here, you probably noticed that melee combat in PoE 2 is a very different feel than before. We've done a lot of things to add mobility to combat. Practically every melee skill in PoE 2 has some kind of movement built into it. But the Monk in particular is a melee fighter who specializes in mobility over brute strength.
Charm, this doesn't look like anything from PoE 1. Wow, an Orb of Transmutation. That was worth a minute of fighting.
So, as Mark has been playing, you might have noticed these blue markers over enemies. Mark has a skill equipped called Killing Palm. Whenever an enemy has a blue indicator over it, it means that the monster has low enough life to cull with Killing Palm. Successfully executing the cull...
I just noticed the gold.
This is an important skill for the monk.
There's gold.
Interact with power charges. One of the great things about the skill is that it has a built-in dash forward, which makes it much easier to target the skill right at the point where you need it. We've done a huge amount of work in PoE 2 to make using skills like this feel satisfying.
Oh, this is going to be very different than PoE 1.
The skill will automatically lock onto the colorable target, and it will even do a small amount of pathfinding around obstacles. We really want to make sure that when you've got an opportunity to use the skill, nothing is going to get in your way. Once you have some power charges, you're going to need some skills to power up. A great follow-up is Falling Thunder. Falling Thunder without a power charge just creates a relatively small...
Maybe gold is the Challenge League.
But if you do it with power charges, it turns into a pack clearer.
No, that would be too weird.
One thing to notice here is that, like almost every melee skill in PoE 2, Falling Thunder has a little bit of extra
Are they not going to address the gold?
Use the skill within range and you just do the flip in place. You use it at a larger range and your character
Like, am I going crazy here?
position without any time penalty. In PoE 2, you also get a short period to redirect your target. Notice how you can start the skill facing one way, then whip the mouse sideways to land the skill in a different direction?
Does seem pretty cool.
In order to get power charges, you're going to first need to get some lower life monsters into a colorable range. You've got a few options if you want to charge right in. Whirling Assault is great. It doesn't do much damage per hit, but it covers a lot of ground. And notice how you can turn as you do it? Generally speaking, you never lose control of your character in PoE 2. If you make a turn at the right time, you can get a couple of extra hits in on the monsters, getting them in range of your cull. Follow up with a Killing Palm and then finish off the rest of the pack with your Falling Thunder.
I mean, this is all stuff that I'm just gonna have to feel, right? I don't know how much they can demonstrate and try to explain how melee feels different.
We've now entered the Vaal Mechanarium. This is the place where the Vaal built the various constructs that they relied on to power their civilization.
God, look at how much, look at all that gold. That's Alva.
A Vaal ruin that hasn't been looted? I wonder why nobody's been in here before.
One useful feature we've added is the ability to call in NPCs to where you are to give you more information or help you with quest objectives, rather than always having to go back to town. In this case, we've called in Alva to find out what to do.
This mechanism. If powered with a small soul core, it could open that door. There should definitely be soul cores somewhere around here. They had
So,
to make these constructs somehow.
I think PoE 2 is gonna like follow up on storylines from individual leagues.
Soul core to open this door. Let's explore. If you want to shave off some life without getting too close to some of the more dangerous monsters, a great option is Wind Blast. Wind Blast also doesn't do too much damage, but it keeps enemies back. The closer they are, the farther they're pushed back. So it's a great option for keeping smaller but higher damage enemies at bay. Note that the bigger the enemy is, the less they'll be pushed back. So trying to push back some giants isn't going to be as effective. And there's the Soul Core. Let's get back to the door.
Consider me impressed. I'll keep investigating in here. Bring me in if you find anything else.
I like that there's
Tougher enemies, it might be time to break out some of the ice skills in the monk's arsenal. Glacial Cascade creates a wave of ice that moves slowly in front of the player. It's pretty
Just-
effective against fast-moving monsters. Most of the
Is it really realistic that you're gonna have all these different skills that you use in all these different situations, though?
It can be very effective. In order to do that, you're probably going to want to freeze some monsters. The monk has a few different tools to do this. A fairly simple option is to get right in the monster's face with Ice Strike. Ice Strike doesn't do too much damage at the first two hits, but attack 3 times in sequence and you can get off a combo that has a much higher chance to freeze. Get in there with the freeze, then roll back and finish the job with Glacial Cascade. Now, remember how Glacial Cascade is that extra damaging spike at the end? If you hit a frozen enemy with that spike, it shatters the ice on the enemy and does a devastating amount of damage. This is a really great combo against bosses, as you'll see later. Oh yeah, and I've just been casually mentioning rolling around. Did I forget to mention that in PoE 2 we added a dodge roll to every character? Just
Oh.
press spacebar at any time to roll.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's incredible.
There's no cooldown and no limitations.
No cooldown.
And it even has pathfinding in it, so you don't get stuck on anything. When you
Is everyone just gonna roll everywhere?
when you dodge roll, you're not invulnerable. If something hits you, you're going to feel it, but most things aren't going to hit you. And that's because while you're rolling, projectiles and melee strikes will always miss. You'll have to roll out of the way of a slam that has AoE, but anyone swinging a sword or throwing a fireball is going to miss. Now, another important function of dodge roll
So-
is you cancel out of any skill at any time. This makes it so you don't feel like you're getting stuck
That's-
when something's about to hit you.
That's huge.
It really changes how skills with longer attack and cast times play.
And that's gonna completely change the feel of the game.
Reliable feeling way to avoid attacks. So, that's one way to get out of the way of damage, but the monk specializes in mobility, so it makes sense that it would have some more. Wave of Frost is one of our new attacks with a retreat built right in. You move backwards and throw out a cold attack with a significant freeze. A The great thing about this is that it puts you at a good distance to follow up with a Glacial Cascade and do a whole pile of damage.
And those magic monsters weren't like some crazy huge fight or anything. Yeah, I'm like, they're... And of course, they're trying to demonstrate all this stuff, so it's unclear how realistic this is as a gameplay scenario. They kept the flask system, though, in all this. And it's so many buttons. Because now you have to hit the spacebar all the time to dodge roll.
Used to get some extra freeze is Shattering Palm. Shattering Palm is a palm strike that puts a small ice bomb on the target. Kill or deal enough damage to the target and the bomb will explode, doing some damage and a significant freeze. It's a great option against bosses where the wave of ice might not be enough to get that freeze off. But you still really want to use Glacial Cascade to get the damage bonus. The final skill we're going to show you today is Flicker Strike. It's a monk skill and another skill that consumes power charges. If you've played PoE 1 before, you know what to expect.
Yeah, that's Flicker Strike.
It's a great finisher for tough boss fights if you were able to get some power charges beforehand.
I feel like they're burying the lead here so much. I'm seeing gold, like... Clearly the split had to do with them slowing down the game and they're just not talking about it. It just feels really weird. Like, they're getting all this minutia about, like, melee skill feel and combos and the extra mobility of the game. Like, that is interesting, but that's stuff I kind of have to feel, and the stuff that, like, I'm concerned or really want to know about, they're just not addressing. Hopefully they'll get into that very, very soon.
Here we have Blackjaw, former overseer of the Mechanarium. When the Val fell, he was turned to stone and now guards the area. In order to take down this boss, we're going to need all the tools in the Monk's arsenal, especially the combo of Freeze and Glacial Cascade. Now, if you're a PoE 1 player, you might think you can't rely on Freeze because there's so many bosses that are immune to it. In PoE 2, that's changing significantly. In
Okay.
PoE 1, Freeze is a binary mechanic. An attack freezes the target or it doesn't. What this basically means is that in PoE 1, we were forced to add freeze immunity to many bosses because freeze just trivialized them. Because of that, freezing was something you could only really rely on while pack clearing, and not something you could use as a core part of your build for boss fighting. In PoE 2, though, all crowd control mechanics now have internal meters that allow you to build up to a freeze or stun, or whatever other CC mechanic that you're using. It's a little bit like poise from games like Elden Ring, though the meters tend to be a lot smaller than those games. When you freeze an enemy, it increases the amount of freeze you need to do to get another freeze, but the increased difficulty bleeds away slowly. More freeze will always let you freeze the boss more often, but this system means that it will not get out of control in party play or interact badly with other CC mechanics, allowing us to let these kinds of mechanics actually work against.
It's a great change. It's so good. But like, look at how long this is taking. Like, is this even fun? I'm sure this is just for demonstration purposes, because like, I don't think I'd enjoy doing this repetitive like dance with this boss for. Okay. Wow, that hit hard. Yep. Got him.
Alright. Let's take two.
Oh my god, are they gonna run back?
This might be a good time to mention that in PoE 2, if you die to the boss, you have to start again from the start. There's no boss cheesing.
Excellent. That's such a good change. Oh my god.
1 second. One technical issue. All right, we good? Back to the stream. All right.
Round 2.
Let's go.
But they didn't want to show like the whole run back or something. I love that you can't just like do the portal thing. You just have to actually be able to beat them. This could be so good for the campaign. Because a huge problem with PoE is like when running through the campaign every league is that it basically just becomes a question of running as fast as you can. It's like just a journey of just like getting from point A to point B to point C, etc. It's not really about gearing up and making your character stronger. So having bosses be these sort of like, you need to be this strong to pass, and then maybe you have to farm up gear in order to be strong enough to beat it without dying. That can make the campaign far more interesting. Make it a lot more than just feeling like you're just running through 10 acts, and more like you're actually building up your character and getting stronger to be able to beat these like marquee or difficult boss fights that are standing in your way, which just completely changes the tenor of the entire league start in a way that is just like this one small change could really change everything about how it feels to start a new league for the better in a huge way. I mean, I am a huge fan of this boss change. And I guess if this is a boss fight, not just like a zone boss, then the timing and difficulty of it makes a lot more sense. I've been thinking this was just like a random unique in a zone or something. Because if this is like an act boss or something, then or like a sub, like one of those halfway act bosses they like to do, and this looks like a great fight. And having this sort of thing as like a gear check or skill check, and the skilled people can do it with less gear. Oh, that seems really good. Because it would be awesome if just being able to skillfully do a boss without being hit is the thing that separated the people who can clear the campaign faster, instead of just like, oh no, they're really good at running from point A to point B efficiently while like still moving while they manage their inventory, you know, which is what it's all about now, which is like really lame in my opinion. I don't get into that sort of speedrunning stuff. Oh. God, what if he loses again? Oh, that would be incredible. They might have turned on the cheat so that he like can't die or something, just so they can show them clearing it. I can't believe they haven't even acknowledged the gold though. Like, they're being so coy. I really like the PoE 2 UI. I wonder what that little like yellowish meter around the mana orb is. Is it just like a flourish? It feels like it's measuring something, like some sort of alternate resource. Oh. God, I want him to die at the last second again during their demonstration. Oh. Okay. You know, second try's the charm.
Alright, second time's the charm.
Yeah.
So, Blackjaw has dropped a consumable quest item here called the Flame Core. It's a permanent +10 to Spirit. In PoE 2, we really want to make sure that you feel rewarded for exploration.
Spirit?
It wouldn't be much good if we made all these awesome optional bosses if we didn't have something great to find for killing them. One of the things you might find for killing a boss is permanent stat bonuses for your character.
What is spirit? Did I miss something? What's spirit? Are there new stats? I mean, they're just... I feel like these sort of like slow mechanical things they like to do to show off Path of Exile 2. I don't know. I feel kind of bored by this. I'm like, get to the good stuff. I don't know if other people are feeling this way. Is there like a rare in there or something? Those curses are coming from something, right?
Need to use those killing palms more often, Mark. Your fate is sealed. Whoa, 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 whoa. My poor heart. Lightning strike. Oh. I think you got completely lost there.
I have no idea where I am.
All right. Yeah, there we go. All right, here we are. Here we are. Here's the exit.
I'm gonna die to these sentinels somehow.
I mean, he's just very slowly killing enemies right now.
All right. Let's go right through. All right. All right. In order to help with the next area, we're going to call in a sorceress. I'd like to welcome Octavian to the stage, who's going to join the party with Mark, so they can play through together.
I hope there's some serious overhauls to party play. And that's what they're about to show off.
All right, 1 second. All right. Here we go. All right. The sorceress is the new intelligence-focused character in PoE 2. While the witch focuses more on occult magic and summoning, the sorceress is themed around pure elemental destruction. Let's have a look at how she plays.
This is the largest soul core I've ever seen. With this, we could power the canal systems. But it isn't charged. There is still latent energy in this machinarium from its ancient operation. These lines...
I mean, it looks really good.
You might need to find some more soul
Visually so stunning.
But everything looks to be in surprisingly decent condition. Maybe the golems have been maintaining it. In any case, it should still function. We'll have to remove that large core from the wall, of course, but that shouldn't be a problem.
We have some skills here you're probably going to recognize if you've played PoE 1 before, but they feel a bit different now. Spark is great in these tight passages since it
Wow.
moves around. We've added a pierce support gem to really allow it to hit an entire room full of targets.
That is
Single target focus skill,
so different.
does much more damage than the first target that you hit.
I mean, this is looking a lot more like the PoE we know and love, right?
Ice Nova. It hits all enemies around you and slows them down with a chill. Just be careful. Getting up close and personal isn't the ideal place for a sorceress to be. She doesn't have the defenses of a more melee-oriented character. In order to help with that, though, you could use Arctic Armor. In PoE 2, Arctic Armor is a buff that builds up as you stand still. You can see the ice crystals forming around the character.
I mean, this is so many skill reworks.
When monsters hit you, they take cold damage and build up to a freeze, so it's a great defense. Just be careful. You have to be standing still for a little while to get the full effect, so trying to stutter step using it isn't the best strategy. Now, Arctic Armor is an ongoing buff, but did you notice it didn't reserve any mana? How does that work? Well, we were pretty sick of the fact that in PoE 1, basically every character was playing with no mana pool, so we decided to change the way that reservation works. In PoE 2, there's a new resource called Spirit.
Okay.
It's a dedicated resource that you can use for ongoing effects like Arctic Armor, Heralds, Auras, and Minions.
Excellent. Oh my god. The minions are reservation now.
Spirit, which is enough for But if you're willing to give up your offhand slot, the easiest way to get it is by holding a scepter. Find out more about that in the items talk later on. Now, if you want to increase the cold damage that you're dealing, you can always use Frost Bomb. It places a bomb on the ground that reduces enemies' cold resistance while it's ticking down. It's a great opportunity to use some cold skills before it explodes. And speaking of cold skills, a great skill to use on monsters with lower cold resistance is Comet. This is a new skill in PoE 2 and it hits pretty damn hard. It costs a lot of mana and has a really long cast time, but it's worth the wait.
So, wow, the resource systems in PoE 2 are going to be so different then.
Your character moves back slightly as it casts. It's pretty hard to hit fast-moving opponents, but it's great on tougher enemies that stand still, or even a larger pack if you're further away and can predict where they're going to move. Now, if you run out of mana casting too many of those, I guess in an emergency you could use your free-to-cast Fireball. So where did that come from, you ask? Well, this is a great opportunity to explain the way that we've changed caster weapons in PoE 2. Now in PoE 1, caster weapons had a default melee attack that nobody used. And because they had that, they also had a bunch of attack mods that would spawn in them that were useless to a caster. In PoE 2, we wanted to clean that up. So each staff now comes with a built-in spell.
Oh my god, this seems so much better.
Just put it on and spam away to your heart's content. Now this particular staff is the base type that you'll get right on the starting beach, so it's quite likely that you'll have outgrown it by now. So that's why we've also made a lot of staves with more utility-focused powers for casters to use. Here we have a crystal staff. It has a pretty cool built-in spell.
Unleash. Not a support.
Using it slams your staff on the ground and will allow you to triple cast whatever you cast with your next spell. Now, of course, what you're probably going to want to use with that is something powerful, and Comet is a great option.
Oh, so it's sort of like Unleash support. Okay. So is Unleash support gone?
One of the few skills in PoE 2 with a cooldown. In general, we really try to avoid using cooldowns because we really hate the feeling that combat is just waiting to cast your next spell. But it does make sense for Unleash since it's free to cast, and it's something we want you to use situationally anyway. Now, if you're facing something tough, you might need to try out Mana Tempest. Mana Tempest creates a circle of power which your character literally hovers over the ground. While in the circle, your mana drains, but it powers up all your spells. Lightning projectiles will fork, beams will chain further, and you also do.
I mean, this looks incredible. Maybe I just don't like melee, and that's what I was bored earlier. Because I'm loving this. This is fantastic. I mean, these are really interesting reworks to how the resource stuff works. I mean, this is going to change entirely how combat feels. Because it seems like there's going to be a new focus on having mana matter for everyone instead of just finding a way to do everything for free, like which is what you do now. And then having high mana costs.
All these skills, here's a great combo to try. First, cast Frost Bomb to reduce the target's cold resistance. Then use Mana Tempest to increase your damage. Follow up with Unleash, and then triple cast Comet to do a truly insane amount of damage.
A lot of buttons. Have we seen, like, the secondary action bar for more skills, or are you perhaps limited to just the 8?
This rare monster has dropped an uncut gem, and that's a great opportunity to talk about how skill gems drop in PoE 2. Instead of dropping specific gems, you can find uncut gems. Just right-click on them and pick whatever skill you want.
What?
Ignore the, whoops.
Whoa, what now? Excuse me?
The gem will come pre-leveled to the level of the area that dropped it, so it's a lot easier to change between skills in PoE 2. This time, I think it might be cool to grab one of our meta gems. Meta gems are skills that can have other skills socketed into them, changing how they work.
Like Cast on Shock?
We're going to select Cast on Shock. Now, let's equip this thing in the skill screen and choose which spell to trigger with it.
Oh my god, oh, it's a thing of beauty.
Now, because Cast on Shock reserves Spirit, we'll need to first disable our Arctic Armor. We have to decide if we'd rather have the extra defense or the extra offense of the Cast on Shock using our Spark. In PoE 2, trigger gems use a system of filling up cast time on each trigger. Basically, if a skill has a short cast time, it will trigger really often. And if it has a long cast time, like this Comet here, it will take a lot longer to trigger. You can see on the top left corner,
Oh, 20%.
how long until the next trigger.
Oh my god, this seems so good. Oh my god, I love this.
automatically cast Comet whenever we're using our lightning skills.
I love this so much. Oh my god. And if you're doing some sort of trigger build, then you can stack up Spirit in order to have more of these things, these effects stacked up. Oh, wow.
Another generator. Time to power it up. As power is restored to the Mechanarium, all the constructs are coming back to life. We're going to fight them on the way back to the charged Soul Core. So, one thing that PoE 1 players might have noticed is this character has both lightning spells and cold spells. That's pretty inefficient, right? It's a big no-no for most builds because any specialization into cold or lightning isn't going to affect the other element. And generic elemental damage increases are not going to be as powerful as focusing on a single element. Well, in PoE 2 we have another major new system to introduce to solve these kinds of problems. And it starts, oddly enough, with weapon swap. Now, in PoE 1, weapon swap isn't really used much for its originally intended purpose. We imagine that people were going to be swapping in and out between different weapons to deal with whatever situation they were in. People just don't do that at all. And a large reason for that is because it's really, really awkward. In PoE 2, we wanted to solve all of that. The staff Octavian is using here has an ice mod on it that makes it great for when he's using his ice spells. But we would also like to be able to make sure that this build works just as well for his lightning spells. If Octavian equips his previous staff in his second weapon set, you can see that it appears on the character's back. Now, we're going to open up the skill screen. If
Oh my god.
has skill options for his lightning skills, you can see here that you can choose which weapon sets are usable with each skill. First,
Oh my god.
they're used by his lightning skills.
Oh my god.
His lightning weapon.
This is unbelievable.
Take a second.
This is gonna be...
Now, when we use Spark, the character will automatically switch to the lightning staff on his back and then use the skill. And when Octavian uses his Ice Nova, his character automatically
Oh my god.
before using it.
This is gonna... The builds, the things you're gonna have to think about when making a build are incredible with this.
You can configure each skill for which set to use, or both if you don't mind which. There's a very short time penalty to switching, so it can be good to leave some skills on both sets if it doesn't matter which weapon set you're using. But we still have a problem. Passives. Wouldn't it be nice if we could specialize in both cold and lightning passives on the character? Well, in PoE 2 you can.
Ow.
Hopefully Mark can deal with those monsters while we do this demo. So, we're on the passive skill screen here, and you can see that we are close to both a cold and
What?
monster. At the top right of the screen, you can see that we have some weapon sets.
This is insane.
If Octavian holds shift, he can allocate set 1 to the cold passives, and then allocate set 2.
What? Oh my... What?
Check it out. As we use our weapon swap, the skills allocate changes from one build to the other automatically.
Oh my god.
So whenever we cast the appropriate spell, the character's passives reconfigure on the fly to the correct build for that spell. You can't do this with every single passive on your tree. Only points granted from skill books will allow this kind of dual specialization. So you're not going to be changing from a mace slamming warrior into a fire elementalist with the press of a button. But it certainly increases the number of options you have for builds. There's a huge number of places where the system can shine. You can augment your dagger shadow build with traps, or have a great curse set up on your witch with one spec, and then move to your chaos debuff spells with the other, for example.
Oh my god.
It really opens up your options. Now, another fun...
Oh, I'm so excited for this.
This works a little bit like the trigger gems I talked about before, but this one charges up as your energy shield is hit by monsters. We're going to put an Ice Nova in this one. The more energy shield you lose, the more charge builds up. Just get that one equipped there. Yep. So yeah, the more energy shield you lose, the more charge will build up until the point you're able to cast the socketed skill instantly. There we go. So you lose some, so you lose some energy shield, and at just the right time, invoke Ice Nova to cast all the stacked up copies in one instant cast. If you keep losing shield, you'll build up even more charge for even more casts. So it's a great defensive option in an emergency.
I'm still reeling from that passive skill tree thing, and the idea that you can have like multiple weapon sets and multiple sets for some number of your passives, and you just sort of like the things you'll be able to do. I can't, my mind is reeling at the thing, like the possibilities that this allows.
Overkill.
And here we are back at the charged Soul Core. All we have to do now is
Just take it.
Is Alva about to die? Oh no, she just pieces out. Wow. Wow, Alva.
This time, guys.
Frozen.
My god. It's a pretty cool looking boss fight.
Oh god. Frozen, no. Good.
Frozen, nice.
Helps that we're both doing ice damage. Cold damage.
Moving kind of janky. Oh no. Oh, I think it's walking. This is how it's. No, no, it's getting pushed around.
Okay. Nice. Frozen. Frozen again.
Getting real lucky with those freeze procs this time.
All skill.
I mean, this is looking. So you could
Frozen.
spec into. Oh my god, that's just the thing. Because your build will basically be able to specialize in 2 things then, not just one. Which is crazy for what that'll do for builds. I'm so excited to get around and mess around with all this new build stuff.
Get away from him. Get away. Get away.
Certainly it's going to make building characters a lot more interesting.
Charlie. Nice.
Does Alva just like pop back in now?
So that's Path of Exile 2. These areas, as well as around half of each of the first 4 acts, are available to play at the 3 demo zones around Exilecon. Now, if you're physically here at this event and you get to play the demo, just remember, it's a different game than before. It's a lot harder. You're probably going to run the first pack of monsters and just die. I really recommend you read the signs. They have good advice on how to combine your skills effectively, and remember, dodge rolls on spacebar. Use it. You're just going to die otherwise. So your next question is likely to be, when is the beta? Well, we're in our last year of development, but we're still finishing acts, adding skills, and balancing everything. The closed beta is going to start on June 7th, 2024.
Ooh.
Path of Exile 2 has been a long time coming, and we're incredibly excited to be near the finish line, but we're just not quite there yet. We're determined not to rush this and make sure we get everything right. In the meantime, there's a lot in store for PoE 1. I'll hand back over to Chris, and he's going to talk about what's coming up.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. I mean, it does seem very different. It's more different than I ever would have imagined. But some of the stuff they showed off is so cool.
So that demo is very hard for them to do in person. Like, I am very impressed it went that well. So as Jonathan explained, Path of Exile 1 will continue to be its own unique game once Path of Exile 2 comes out. We will continue to update it with expansions and leagues going forward. And because accounts and microtransactions are shared between the 2 games, and their expansion releases are offset from each other, it's super easy to jump between them and effectively play both.
What about standard?
So I'm going off script for a second here and just going to explain this a bit better. Imagine we release a Path of Exile 2 expansion, right? So everyone dives in and plays it. You give it, say, out of the 13-week cycle, you're going to play for, some hardcore players play for the first few weeks, some people play for most of the time.
So this is like twice as much PoE.
One expansion to come out towards the end of that cycle, say 4 or 5 weeks from the end, which also lasts for 3 months. So because Path of Exile 2 has more content and is a significantly larger game, it will mean that you can play Path of Exile 2 for the majority of the cycle, and then either keep playing if you want to keep playing Path of Exile 2, or jump into Path of Exile 1 when its league launches and enjoy that. either for the entire period.
Oh my god.
Path of Exile 2 one comes out. And of course, because your purchases are shared, if you were to buy supporter packs or microtransactions in either, they're just available on your characters in the other. Speaking of Path of Exile 1 expansions, we've got one coming out in just 3 weeks, on August 18th. Let's watch the trailer for Path of Exile Trial of the Ancestors.
Is this what they're calling leagues now, or do they mean there's... Oh my goodness, that's Navali. Right?
They yearn to prove themselves. Welcome
The Shabi?
to the halls of the dead. Earn your place among us. Under Hinikora's watchful eye, test your mettle against the greatest warriors who ever lived.
Maybe that wasn't a Shabi then, it just looked very similar.
Prove yourself in the trial of the ancestor.
What? It's like chess? It's an auto battler? What? That just opened all the expedition stuff automatic. Itemized sanctums, yes! Oh my god, sanctum is back. But no ultimatum? No ultimatum? Really? I'm glad sanctum's back. I'm so glad sanctum's back. Oh my god. I hope it's not a thing where you just like sell your itemized sanctums because they're tradable.
In the Kurui afterlife, the fallen chieftains of each tribe participate in a tournament called the Trial of the Ancestors. You will journey to the afterlife, assemble your own team, and enter the tournament to battle those chieftains and earn valuable rewards. As you play through areas in the Ancestor Challenge League, you'll find tradable silver coins. Using them will take you to the Kurui afterlife, where you will encounter Navali, who you may remember from the league. Each coin allows you to play a match of the tournament. You start the tournament with a basic team consisting of 3 warriors. The tournament is double elimination, meaning you're allowed to have 1 loss without consequence. A second loss eliminates you from the tournament. Your team will compete against 10 other tribes, and you choose who you're going to challenge next out of the teams left in the tournament. When you start a match, you see the configuration of the enemy team and get to place your team of warriors on the battlefield to
This is like
challenge theirs.
TFT or something.
You and your party of exiles will play alongside your warriors. So while this league does have many elements of an auto battler, you're right there fighting alongside them.
Okay, yeah, so I was right when I said auto battler.
When a warrior dies, they respawn at their totem after a short time. If their totem is destroyed, then they are instantly killed and can't respawn. The team that destroys all of the opposing totems wins. If you're playing a hardcore character though, don't worry. Hinokora, the goddess of death, is watching over you and will restore your soul to your body, so you can't permanently die in the afterlife.
Okay, sure.
In the Trial of the Ancestors, strategy and tactics are key. Every unit has its own strengths and weaknesses that must be utilized to win matches. The turtle is really slow and really tanky. It's perfect for either defensive positioning to stop flankers or offensive positioning to tank hits for you if you're pushing through the middle. It's not great in the center or flank positions due to its slow movement speed. The Tuatara is a quick and deceptive unit, which is relatively well balanced for all positions. This version of the Tuatara has a stealth ability, which makes it perfect for the flanking position to sneak through enemy defenses and take out unprotected totems from the side. The Goliath of Night is a disruptor unit, and it's ideally placed in a center position to intercept enemies that are chasing you. You can also allocate it to defenses so that it disrupts enemies that are trying to kill your totems by stunning them. So in this match here, we've set up a Tuatara in a flanking position, a turtle on defense to guard our totems, and a Goliath to follow us as
I mean,
the middle.
this is a lot.
To work with the Goliath to distract the enemy front line so the flanking Tuatara can get through and destroy some of their totems.
there's no way. I mean, this is...
Teamwork. Upon winning a match, you earn favor and other rewards. I'll talk about the other rewards shortly. There are a lot. You have a separate amount of favor with each tribe, and you can spend it by talking to their chieftain to recruit warriors and purchase field items and equipment that your team can use.
Permanent or like per tournament?
For example, Hinakora's tribe manipulates life and death. Rongo Kurai's tribe is slow and tanky, with an emphasis on stuns and knockbacks. You can recruit warriors from many different tribes and mix and match them together into your team based on what you need.
Okay.
Field items are items that are placed on the battlefield and can be activated during the match to, for example, revive a warrior or heal your entire team. If a field item isn't consumed within a match, it persists on to the next match. But your warriors, their equipment, and your field items are all wiped between tournaments. You enter each tournament fresh.
Okay.
Your success in a tournament updates your overall ranking, which helps you in better rewards and subsequent ones. Speaking of rewards,
Sort of like an ultimatum thing then.
What you can earn for succeeding at the trial of the you can tell this gets me excited. Okay. You get a reward as you win each round of the tournament, and these rewards are
Whoa!
the tribe you want to play against. They'll help inform your decision, as some of them are regular rewards and some of them are exclusive new rewards you can only get from the Trial of the Ancestors. I'm literally tripping over my words to get to the part where I can explain tattoos. Okay. The Ancestors reward you with special tattoos that are not applied to your skin, but they're engraved on your soul. This process can transform what your attribute skills on the passive tree do, basically the attribute highway nodes generally. The regular ones can only be applied to basic attribute skills and allow you to convert your tree's attribute highways into something more useful for you. For example, this one converts a small dexterity skill into movement speed.
This is...
Tribe has its own exclusive passive tattoos. This tattoo converts a small strength skill.
Is there a cap on how many of these you can have active at once? Oh my god.
And this one converts a small strength skill into one that summons a minion when you take a savage hit from a unique enemy. But don't go overboard on the number of skills you convert with tattoos, as you'll probably need at least some of your attributes left to equip items.
Nah.
Each of the 10 tribes has an exclusive unique item that you can...
Oh, the min-maxing you can do with that. Oh, man.
Katava's Hunger is a unique majestic place that you can earn by defeating the Katava tribe. As you can see, it grants an immense amount of life for a single item, providing you don't have any life on any other pieces of your equipment. While this is tricky to accomplish, it also...
You've missed a lot. You're showing up now.
Making it pure upside.
But this stuff looks super cool for the new league. I'm definitely going to put out some sort of video, at least with my thoughts on all this.
Causing your flasks to instantly recover life and mana whenever you're low. This could potentially be a powerful panic button. Maybe you want to build around permanently being on low life or mana, so all of your flask usage is instant.
I doubt that.
If you manage to win the entire tournament, you'll not only receive the reward for the final match, but Hinokora will also give you a choice of 3 additional...
Okay.
Of 3 additional exclusive items. Let's have a look at some of the things you may be offered. First up, there are 4 unique items that exclusively come from Hinokora for completing the tournament. This belt, for example, lists a plethora of really powerful properties, both beneficial and detrimental. While you're wearing the belt, the property shifts around every 5 seconds. You never know what's going to happen next. Will you always crit, always evade, never evade? Maybe you're able to find some ways to build around the detrimental effects to create as much upside as possible. Hinokora also has a selection of special, more advanced passive tree tattoos that you can only receive.
Wow.
30 intelligence notable attribute skill.
That's insane.
All of your intelligence gems. You're only allowed 1 copy of the specific attribute combination tattoo on a tree.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Hinokora can also award you with a new type of item called an omen. These are small items that sit in your inventory until a condition is met, at which point they are consumed and something happens. In this case, when you reach 25% life,
Oh god, I don't know how I feel about that.
Don't worry. Each player can only consume 1 omen per combat area, so you don't have any reason to fill your entire inventory with
Okay, thank you.
This one creates a portal on death.
I love that.
We made it for me.
No, you made it for me. I will always have this in my inventory.
This one grants you Soul Eater when you level up. It's definitely worth carrying around for that massive power boost.
I love that.
Omens are tradable but hard to get, so use them carefully.
Oh, because this is like the old, because it's Navali League.
Worth in the presence of those incredibly rare unique weapons from 320.
This used to be a prophecy, this one.
Back in the day, when we had stuff like the prophecy and so on that let you upgrade to rare forcibly on a specific base type, we had to block the good items by putting crap uniques on the sorry, I meant upgrade to unique. We put crap uniques on that base type so that you couldn't get it every time. Well, we stopped doing that. So a lot of the uniques that were upgraded in 320 are just the only thing on the base type. So items like this let you deterministically get something quite valuable, hence they are quite rare. The most exciting one, though. Finally, Hinakura can offer you a lock of her hair. This is a very special currency item that lets you foresee the result of using another currency item to craft something. This means, for example, you can know whether it's worth exalting your item because you know exactly what the
What?
Hinakura's lock will slot into your crafting pipeline with powerful consequences. The Trial of the Ancestors offers a wide selection of valuable new...
What? So you can just check every bit of currency to see what it would do?
Carefully placing and playing alongside your tribe. So that's the new Challenge League, but Path of Exile expansions contain more than just a new league every 3 months. In each update, we also augment Path of Exile's endgame and shift the metagame with new gems and balance changes. This expansion is no exception. I'm going to explain the other changes in a medium amount of detail. I'm conscious that we have both new and existing players. For new players, I'm going to try to include some extra content to help make the changes more understandable. You can find out all the detail in the patch notes and other information we'll be posting in the few weeks before release. Let's start with how the Trial of the Ancestors expansion expands Path of Exile's endgame. In December last year, we released an expansion called The Forbidden Sanctum, which introduced the Sanctum...
Yeah.
This league was a roguelike game set within Path of Exile, where you would randomly explore
God, I missed this.
one room at a time, alongside your regular play. You'd pick which rooms you wanted to explore out of several options, and accumulate beneficial boons and detrimental afflictions that made your run easier and harder, respectively. Not only did Sanctum work really well as a league, but it also had the potential to be added to Path of Exile as part of its core endgame content, alongside systems like mapping, delve, and heist. Well, in this expansion, the Forbidden Sanctum is back.
Hell yeah. Oh god, I want to know if they've added to it or what they've changed. I hope they've added more content.
I've really been looking forward to this one. We're reintroducing the Sanctum as core content in Path of Exile's endgame. You'll initially meet Divinia, the Sanctum NPC, in Act 10.
Oh, okay.
Sanctums are now tradable items that you can find while playing maps in the endgame. A forbidden tome represents a whole floor of the Sanctum.
Oh, thank God.
Back to back, or you can take breaks between them and do something else if you choose. Upon successfully completing that Sanctum floor, the next floor is generated as a tradable item with all of the state of your Sanctum run built in. This means that the item stores what boons and afflictions you had, what rewards you've locked in, and how much resolve you have left. You can then either play this floor or trade it to someone else if it feels more beneficial. For example, let's say you manage to lock in a really valuable reward. The example here is a Mirror of Calandra, but you'll also notice that...
One resolve.
It doesn't work on the board. Okay, one resolve. This is an example here where the player has a very good reward locked in, but a massive pile of dangerous afflictions and only one resolve on them. If you don't feel capable of completing the rest of the Sanctum from this point, then it would normally be a write-off, right? If you gave this to me, no way am I getting that mirror. But you can now trade the Sanctum state to someone else who is willing to pay for the chance to earn the mirror, or lose it. And you can look at expected value in economics, right? It's worth some percentage of that mirror. So you trade it for like 5 chaos to someone, they run it and lose it.
Not for 5 chaos. No, thank you.
Your relics, which act as passive bonuses within the Sanctum, are locked in for the run when you start the first floor and can't be changed for the rest of the run. Speaking of relics, they're now tradable and have been rebalanced around this.
Ooh.
For those of you wondering, we have decided against bringing back sanctified relics for now. A complete Sanctum run now requires killing the final boss, Lycia, in both her first and second form. She will always drop a unique relic, and these have been reworked and replaced as we rebalanced everything. An important aspect of the new Sanctum balance is that your primary defenses now have some effect on protecting your resolve.
Interesting.
Your armor allows you to mitigate resolve loss, and your evasion grants you a chance to avoid resolve loss entirely, a lot like how armor and evasion work. Your energy shield grants you Resolve Aegis, which is a mechanic that works similarly to how energy shield behaves for life.
Is inspiration gone?
Defensive opportunities and learnings
from the original Challenge League, we've rebalanced the difficulty of Sanctum, especially in later floors, and have worked to add more monster and room variety to run.
Yes.
We've added new boons and afflictions themed around the new defensive mechanics and have rebalanced many of the other ones. Like other optional endgame systems that involve tradable items, players who don't want to play Sanctum can trade their Sanctum to other
See, this is what concerns me, though.
or currency that benefits them more. Successful Sanctum play can generate a lot of rewards. It'll potentially be possible to build characters dedicated to Sanctum running and just farm Sanctums repeatedly.
I hate that.
Sanctum isn't the only improvement that Trial of the Ancestors brings to Path of Exile's endgame. We're also introducing
Like, variety is just more fun.
Atlas Keystone passives to the Atlas passive tree. As a quick summary for new players joining us, the Atlas tree is a system that allows you to customize your endgame experience in Path of Exile.
Best thing to ever happen in the endgame.
As you complete different maps, you gain skill points that can be allocated in the tree. You could use these points to modify the behavior of different content you encounter in endgame maps to make it more difficult or more rewarding, or to behave entirely differently. The system allows you to double down on the content you enjoy and avoid content you don't. Keystones are really impactful passives that totally change how endgame systems behave. Usually they have an element of give and take and require you to come up with new strategies to take advantage of them. Each of these 16 new Atlas Keystones changes how you might interact with Path of Exile's endgame. Let's have a look at some of them now.
16 is so many.
The rest of them before the release of Trial of the Ancestors in a few weeks. Extreme Archaeology completely changes how you play expedition encounters.
Number of explosives is 1.
A series of regular explosives, you now place one gigantic explosive. Every single chest or monster in the blast radius is affected by every remnant in that radius.
That's powerful. It's very interesting.
Speaker of the Dead makes it so that tormented spirits
What?
possess you rather than possessing monsters.
Oh, that seems super fun.
Boosting your stats instead. While possessed, you can touch monsters just like a spirit. And more rewarding. It's kind of getting silly at this point, isn't it? Blight is like a tower defense minigame inside Path of Exile. The Cassia's Pride Keystone makes it so that Blight monsters take significantly less damage from players and significantly more damage from Blight towers. This means you can go all in playing it like an actual tower defense game.
I like that. That's fun.
Lucid Dreams makes it so that Val's side areas are no longer corrupted, meaning that you can use currency items to.
Oh my god!
That's right. When you encounter a Val's side area, the Keystone lets you craft it.
What? I mean, is that? I mean, there's some weird. I gotta look at those ultimatum aspect. That said additional.
We've made the downside mods a bit more punishing, just to make it interesting.
That said additional ultimatum aspect.
You may also rarely encounter a unique Val side area.
Oh my.
Destruction play makes it so that the Maven will summon between 1 and 3 extra random map bosses when you are fighting witness map bosses. This keystone is analogous to the Eldritch Altar keystones that make those influences.
Oh yes.
There are another 11 new keystones that we'll reveal over the next few weeks. Together, these 16
Have they fixed that?
Regardless of how you enjoy your maps, you'll have plenty of new ways to play Path of Exile's endgame in this expansion.
They removed the double shape around all their guardians, right? Are those back?
10 minutes. But we'll put them in the news to save you some time here. In the Trial of the Ancestors expansion, we're shifting Path of Exile's metagame in several ways. The first is by introducing 14 new support gems, which are designed to take existing categories of skills and provide entirely new ways to play them. For full information, check the final gem hovers when we post them in the next few weeks. Let's have a look at a handful of these support gems now. In Path of Exile, war cries usually buff your party but don't directly hurt monsters. The Corrupting Cry support gem turns war cries into damage-dealing skills.
What?
That inflict corrupted blood on monsters affected by the war cry or by your attacks that it exerts.
That is weird.
The Returning Projectiles support gem causes projectiles from supported skills to return to you, piercing all targets but dealing a little less damage.
Oh, so sort of like Nimbus. It's like a permanent Nimbus
That's another example too.
that you get from a support gem. And it's not a chase item. You just can just slot it in.
The fresh meat support gem causes minions created by supported gems to gain adrenaline, critical strike chance, and critical strike damage for a duration after they're first summoned. So you've got to work out a way to keep refreshing your minions, and it makes them a lot more powerful.
Good for summon raging spirits.
Causes totems to trigger projectile mortars at enemies that hit them. This is particularly synergistic with totems that can taunt enemies, such as decoy totem.
Decoy totem.
The sacrifice support gem works on spells that you either cast yourself or through totems. These spells now sacrifice a percentage of your current life or the totem's life to gain additional chaos damage based on how much life was.
My god, health Archmage?
The frigid bond support gem
What?
link skills and causes a cold mist to come over them. Enemies caught in the beam are chilled and are dealt cold damage over time.
Did you rework the link skills?
It's a new tool for a cold damage over time build requiring strategic placement of both yourself and your linked ally.
I mean, it seems permanent.
I mentioned it was going to get silly.
No, it has a duration.
Line support gem looks OP and affects attack skills that use bows and wands. Instead of directly using the supported skill, you throw mines in an arc that use that skill for you, targeting your location when you detonate them. In addition to these gems, there are another 7 that we'll be revealing over the next few weeks. In addition to the 14 new support gems, our balance work for the Trial of the Ancestors involved us revamping 2 ascendancy classes. These are the subclasses that you can specialize in as you play through Path of Exile's campaign. Each main character class has 3 ascendancy classes available. In the last expansion, Crucible, we overhaul the Pathfinder and Saboteur. This time, it's the Guardian and Chieftain, which are specializations of the Templar and Marauder, respectively. While we were very happy with the theme of the Guardian, it was falling behind the power level and popularity of other ascendancy classes. Our changes in this expansion have modernized the class and will present you with more relevant build opportunities than before. Brace yourself. Okay. Path of Exile 102. Harmony of Purpose can power up parties using link skills. Time of Need now completely cleanses and heals you every 4 seconds. Radiant and Unwavering Crusade both fully embrace the Holy Summoner theme by giving you access to some exciting new types of minions that are exclusive to this ascendancy class. We have this picture on the announcement page, pathofexile.com/ancestor for you to scrutinize. Next. While the Guardian's revamp was similar to that of the Pathfinder, the Chieftain has received the Saboteur treatment. To be honest, we were unhappy about many aspects of this ascendancy class in its old form, and so we have completely redesigned it. You can play it now. It's basically an entirely new ascendancy class with the same name and art and a new way of approaching its themes. Its new skills let you, among other things, cause enemies to explode, turn off enemies' fire resistance while you're stationary, convert passive skills to apply to fire damage. And
wow. 2 points to get explosion? I guess it's only 5% chance.
That's on the site too for you to check out. It's pretty powerful.
But still.
To celebrate the release of the Trial of the Ancestors, we'll be hosting a boss kill event. To enter, create a hardcore solo self-found character in the Ancestor League and race to kill all 7 Uber Pinnacle bosses on the same character. Note that unlike the last event we ran, this one is not a ruthless event. We'll post more information about the event and its prizes in the news before release. Best of luck to everyone. For the Ancestor Challenge League, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Shade and Disciple packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value and points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Ancestor League and will leave the store forever when it ends.
I don't really like... I guess the skull one on the left is pretty neat.
And do not affect the character's power or progression in any way, despite how cool they look. The Shade series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions.
Got a waypoint? Looks cool.
Alright. The sarcophagus back attachment imprisons an unspeakable evil that struggles to break free. Nearby monsters send it into a frenzy, and enemy deaths provide it with souls to feast upon. The Stygian waypoint shackles visitors to your hideout in chains, yourself included. These chains are just cosmetic though, and they break as soon as you move. It would supposedly be a gameplay advantage to be able to imprison people. The Ferryman's armor set is so full of trapped souls that some of them try to escape. Moving while wearing the boots will leave souls in your wake trying to break free. The Infernal Portal opens a gate to the Netherrealm when you approach. This prompted a lot of internal discussion about whether using Hellfire to heat your hideout is actually safe and practical. The demon-bound crafting bench allows you to enslave a malevolent entity to craft items for you. Be warned, it has a sharp tongue and will mock you mercilessly.
You chained me for such a paltry use?
The Nebula character effect causes items you pick up to orbit you in an ethereal cloud of loot.
Wow.
The Disciple series of supporter packs also contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. Look at dog. I'm gonna put that in the top pack. The Hero's Landing Finisher effect summons a marble statue from the heavens to execute unique monsters you defeat. You decide whether it's the sword or the huge lump of rock that actually kills them. The Bell Tower map device heralds the opening of a new map with a peal of bells. Start to run out of portals though, and it will reflect your desperate situation.
Oh my god. That's incredible.
This is fine. The Cathedral armor set refracts light through your character, creating beautiful patterns on the ground around it. If your life gets low, it responds in kind.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
The Observer Diamond Flask summons a tentacled mass that fires its eye lasers at enemies you critically strike while the flask is active. Again, cosmetic. The Currency Orb Charge effect lets you pick from a number of different currency types to replace your charges.
Oh my god.
As long as you've used that currency item anytime from today onwards. Some people... We have to store it in the database, right? Some people will show they can be part of the exclusive club of players who have actually used a Mirror of Calandra. This effect also causes your charges to display in towers.
Does it include eternal orbs?
Standard mirror, which we all have, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have a mirror. I might get that for the mirror thing.
And it knows a few tricks. You can command it to sit, roll
What?
over, or play dead.
Oh, they're gonna make so much money.
And yes, you can pet the dog.
Oh my god, just summons a hand.
These new packs are available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and purchases like these directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 1 and 2. Meanwhile, the Lithomancer and Enchanter packs leave the store forever at the
I need to take a second look at those because I don't think I bought either.
Those two. Thanks for your continued support. The fun part. For the last Exilecon, we developed a special card game that encapsulated the full gameplay arc of Path of Exile over the course of the event. Players could defeat monsters, progressively upgrade their items, use currency items to craft their equipment, find and run maps, and eventually defeat pinnacle bosses to earn rewards. It was a whole lot of fun, and we've had so many requests to run it again. So this year, we're proud to bring you the 2023 version of the Exilecon card game. And like all Path of Exile expansions, it even includes a challenge league. In your swag bags, you'll have found a box of Exilecon cards, and then a gentleman outside will have asked to purchase them from you for real money. If you have any cards left, you can use these to challenge GGG staff members who are walking around Exilecon as monsters. They'll be wearing t-shirts showing the monster's stats.
Oh my god.
For their attack and defense.
This is so cool.
And those you accumulate by defeating monsters, put together one set of armor, one weapon and shield, or a two-handed weapon, and an amulet and 2 rings. To defeat a monster, the damage on your weapon has to be equal to or larger than the defense of the monster, and the defense on the armor and shield have to be equal to or larger than the attack of the monster. It's that simple. There are some wildcard symbols. It's explained on the rules in the box. Rings and amulets are pretty hard to find, and they can be used for either attack or defense. So to attack a monster, politely approach a staff member wearing the shirt, introduce yourself, and show them the set of equipment you want to use. If your symbols match, then you'll have defeated them, and they'll give you a reward and remove some of the durability from your items. They do this by clicking the card, so if you want to keep the card pristine, don't necessarily attack someone with it, it will get damaged in combat. Be careful not to waste your best items on low-level monsters. You're not allowed to attack the same monster twice in a row, so you need to explore Exilecon to find different GGG staff members. You can get maps by defeating monsters marked as gods. Take these maps to the map device to run them and progress through the tiers. On the back of the box is a list of quests. As you complete quests, you can visit the crafting bench on the top floor to receive rewards for completing those quests. While you're there, you can also use your currency items to modify your equipment. I I mentioned that this year's version of the card game...
Oh my god.
That league is Delve. Accumulate Sulfite and bring it to the Delve wall. Sorry for the
What?
It's hard with lighting. On the middle floor. Each Sulfite card you hand in allows you to explore one tile of the Azurite mine. You'll all be working collaboratively throughout the event to delve deep into the mine, fight the monsters that lurk there, and uncover its treasures. And I feel really bad for the poor people that had to hang 3,000 cards on that wall. You may eventually be able to challenge the pinnacle bosses if you manage to get really far in the card game. I'm the Searing Exarch, Jonathan is the Eater of Worlds, and Mark is the Maven. Defeating any of the three of us will reward you with a Mirror of Calandra enamel pin. This pin is exclusively available for winning the card game and won't be sold in the merchandise shop. Each person can only receive a maximum of 2 mirrors, and when they run out, we can't give any more out, so try to win the game early. The reason for 2 is a very typical Path of Exile reason, 1 for you and 1 to trade. Alright, it's almost time to go and experience Exilecon 2023. Aside from the card game,
Oh, this is very relevant to us at home. I'm going to join the Wi-Fi network.
On the main stage and the streamer stage, we've posted a schedule at pathofexile.com/exilecon so you can see what is happening when and where. The schedule also includes information on meet and greet sessions. Our special guests this year include a roster of many of your favorite streamers, but also some game development industry friends we've met over the last 16 years. We're proud to once again welcome the creators of the Diablo series, David Brevik, Max Schaefer, and Eric Schaefer, as well as Travis Baldry, who you may know from Fate, Torchlight, and his popular fantasy books, or even the books he's narrated. They'll not only have meet and greet sessions, but are also participating in an action RPG roundtable discussion alongside me and Eric tomorrow on the stage. In all of the developer talks and panels, Exilecon attendees will be able to scan a QR code on their phone to submit questions for the speakers to discuss.
That's cool.
Or on the Q&A section of the talk. The Path of Exile 2 Exilecon demo is a large one, and you may want to play it multiple times this weekend. In each session, you can pick from one of 4 character classes, which start at various points throughout the first 4 acts of Path of Exile 2's campaign. Around half of each act is included in the demo, and your session time is limited to 45 minutes before you have to let someone else have a turn. Remember, as Jonathan said earlier, this demo is hard. Read the signs that explain how your skills combine together. Dodge roll is your new friend. You should also swing by the Path of Exile mobile demo at the checkout area on the top floor and check out its progress. It's coming along really well, and we'd love to get your feedback on it. We've created heaps of new...
Are they not going to mention gold?
On the middle floor.
I'm just remembering.
17 new t-shirts, which include a few from our community t-shirt design competition. We've created a range of 24...
Yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't trade the mirror pin.
Swag bag. If you approach me and I'm wearing a pin, feel free to swap for the one you've got if you'd like. Happy to trade. You can purchase the others in the shop. As mentioned before, there's also the super exclusive Mirror of Calandra pin that is only available to winners of the card game. Maybe you're able to trade for a full set. There are 2 new posters. One is the Atlas passive tree, and the other is the periodic table of currency. In addition to reprinting the incredibly popular Celestial Cat socks, we've also introduced the Chaos Orb socks, better for business meetings. There's also a range of 4 desk pads to keep your play area tidy. You can check them out at the demo. We have a limited range of Exilecon 2019 merchandise available in the store as well. Make sure to hit it up early if you want some of this, because stocks of the older items are quite limited.
That Katava one, damn.
Everyone, though, and I think I might have underestimated.
That looks sick.
The Exilecon livestream concludes tomorrow with our grand racing finale, where 4 players compete for...
The color grading just completely changed.
Racing champion. Afterwards, we're hosting an after party at 8 p.m. at the venue. If you're watching from home, please note that because there are multiple things going on at the same time here, and we can only stream one of them live, we'll be restreaming 3 of today's talks tomorrow before the event starts. So to be clear, they're occurring here, people can watch them in person, but you can't watch them at that time because we're streaming something else. So we're going to restream those tomorrow in the 3 hours where it's way too early to do it in New Zealand, but you can watch them online from the States and Europe. This makes sure that everyone is fully up to date on all of the talks that have been announced about Path of Exile 2 before the important Q&A in the morning where you get to ask the important questions. If you missed out on attending Exilecon this year, we'll be at Gamescom in Germany in August and PAX West in Seattle in September. At both shows, the Path of Exile 2 booth will have our Exilecon demo available to play and a small team of Grinding Games developers, including me and Jonathan, to chat to, and we hope to see you there. Thanks so much for joining us this weekend at Exilecon 2023. Have a great
wow, there was a lot. And they're not going to explain gold, huh? They're just not gonna explain it. Okay. Wow.
Welcome back to the second half.
So okay, I'm not gonna. I'll watch all this other stuff in my own time, but oh wow. So my initial response when they came out and they were talking about how Path of Exile 2 is not just gonna be an expansion, it's gonna be its own standalone game that's gonna like be run alongside Path of Exile. I immediately I was feeling a bit of dread because that feels like a response to some of the stuff that's been going on recently where people were like, we hate how other devs are trying to slow down the game for PoE 2, and a lot of that backlash I always felt was very silly and misguided. But it was concerning to think that Path of Exile 2 is going to be so different that they feel they need to run a separate version of the game. Because as someone who's an entrenched Path of Exile player, you know, like, what if it's so different that the things I love aren't there? The more they showed off, the better I felt about it. And when they started talking about having expansions and leagues at like a staggered thing so that I can just have more, effectively double the amount of Path of Exile leagues and different variants, that's when I started like really feeling sold and being very into this. Because then, because I talked before in some YouTube videos about how I was excited about the idea of Ruthless, right? But I didn't really like how it wasn't just harder and slower. They also did like these sort of anti-quality of life things that just felt kind of miserable to me. And now I'm sort of feeling like Path of Exile 2 is going to be that sort of ruthless thing that I want, where it's slower and there's a much bigger emphasis on the combat and things as opposed to just hitting one button and everything on the screen explodes. And then we're still going to have that other experience in the original Path of Exile to go back to and just alternate between the two and get that sort of thing. And it's really exciting, right? It does come down to whether or not people are going to keep playing and enjoying both games, but I think there will be, mostly because I think there probably will be some people who find Path of Exile 2 isn't their cup of tea. And there's going to be people who thought the original Path of Exile wasn't their cup of tea. You're going to be brought in by all this sort of like this movement stuff and this real focus on combat and this slower pace and things that are generally more standard in action RPGs, like Diablo and whatnot. And they're going to find that Path of Exile 2 has exactly what they were looking for and they couldn't find in Path of Exile. And then we could sort of have our cake and eat it too, where you can hop back between the two, or if a challenge league in PoE 2 doesn't look that interesting, you could just keep playing Path of Exile 1 or vice versa, and just really be able to have these very different, these divergent play styles that we've seen the player base be really divided over the last year or two. Like, there is a lot of contention, and even myself, I mean, part of why I had initially sort of a negative reaction is that I wasn't even really entirely sure how I felt about it, because I love Path of Exile as it is now, but I also love the idea of an action RPG that is slower and really does focus on improving combat in these ways, and now it feels like we get both, and that's really exciting. So I love everything that I saw here. Some of this stuff I'm talking about how like builds are going to be now, not just having this new skill gem system, but also tying weapon sets and passive tree sets to skills. Individual skills is just mind-blowing, and it sounds like that's really going to be something that people aren't just going to go into Path of Exile 2 and go, oh, we have all these years of experience to draw on making builds, so we can just math out what the best builds in Path of Exile 2 are going to be. Like, no, this is going to be, it's going to take the community learning the different ways we can take advantage of these new tools to come up with builds and the things we can do, and it's going to probably take multiple leagues where the community figures out cool stuff and figures out how to build characters with these new systems, and that's going to be really exciting and a lot of fun. And that's just so interesting. I love this. I love what they're doing here. I have a little bit of lingering concern about, like, there's that fear of like, well, was Path of Exile 2 still going to be for me? I think it's going to be. The more they showed off, the more excited I was, and I can't wait to see where it comes out. I mean, a year from now for the start of the closed beta is further away than I thought, but now that I know they're really committed to Path of Exile 1, yeah, so we know that the cosmetic stuff, as far as transferring between PoE 1 and PoE 2, we do know that like microtransaction things are going to transfer, but there is a lingering question about things like Standard League, because a lot of people have these sort of like legacy items that I think they sort of assumed they'd be able to carry over to Path of Exile 2, and it kind of seems like that won't be the case, that maybe only these sort of account level microtransaction things will carry over. So the fact that, like, you know, personally I have a mirror of Kalandra that dropped for me, and I'm just holding on to it in Standard in this little showcase and looking at it and being like, my precious, oh yes, my mirror that I had dropped for me. And the idea that like that's not going to carry over to PoE 2 is crazy. So I mean, it's interesting. I'm interested in seeing these reworks to Path of Exile 1. It's cool to think they are going to be so committed to having reworks and having these two sort of different variants of the same game going. And yeah, I'm just excited. This all seems really cool. Seems like a great, I feel like they've had a great reaction to sort of the divisiveness in the community and really settled on something that's going to give everybody what they want. I mean, if what you want is Path of Exile 1, you don't like Path of Exile 2, it's going to keep going. There's going to keep being expansions. There's going to keep being leagues. Like, you got what you wanted. You don't have to worry about them slowing things down or what they might do with Path of Exile 2. And that really feels like they've seen a lot of the, like, they've learned from a lot of the negative things that have happened over the last year or two in the community, and have come up with something that I wouldn't have thought of that just sounds incredible. So I'm really excited to see what comes of this and what comes next. And it seems like there's just the best possible scenario here is that we just went from having one game that we love to having two games that we love. And I'm excited to follow through and see where this goes and explore all this stuff in the future. So yeah, so thank you so much for joining me, those of you who came and hung out, whether you're watching this live now or watching the VOD, or maybe I chop this up into some sort of video and talk about my thoughts. But this is really cool. There's going to be lots of stuff we're going to learn over the following days. I'm certain they specifically didn't talk about gold because they're going to, you know, they're being a little cheeky, and they're going to talk more about that in some talk or some panel going forward. So I'm excited, and thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see what else they have in store for us. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.